Hello everyone. Today we are going to be correcting the feet turning out during the overhead squat. So in that case, we're going to start with inhibiting musculature, lengthening, activating, and then integrating exercises at the end. That way we can correct these, the feet turning out during the overhead squat. So to start with the inhibit um, aspect, we are gonna inhibit the calves and the lateral hamstring, the bicep femoris. So right now we're gonna demonstrate. I don't have a foam roller, but I do have a can of corn, so you gotta be resourceful in what you use. So let's start off with the calves. So specifically, we're gonna be working on that lateral calf. So that's where the emphasis is gonna be. So as I mentioned, I have a can of corn. You can use the floor treatment table like I have. And again, we're gonna roll on the lateral calf. So we're gonna externally rotate our foot, right? So we can get that outside calf. Try to stay away from your perineals. And let's just focus on that calf. So again, we're gonna put some pressure on it. And once you find that spot, hold it for about 3 to 5 seconds, right? Get that pressure, that trigger point, I guess you can say. And you can even move your ankle up and down like so. And that's gonna help get a good inhibit that muscle, and hopefully get it to relax a little bit. Next, we're gonna do the biceps femoris, the lateral hamstring. So put your foam roller, can of corn, whatever you got, and same thing. We're gonna externally rotate the foot, and in this case, it'd be the hip as well, right? A little bit. So you can put some pressure on there. Again, same thing. Gonna foam roll on that hamstring, and we're gonna hold wherever it hurts 3 to 5 seconds and move on. All right. So that's for the inhibit phase for the calves and biceps femoris. Next step would be lengthening. So just because we're already working on the calf and biceps femoris, that's what we're gonna do. So here you can use. You don't necessarily need to have this, a TheraBand or anything. I'm using just a rope because I'm on vacation. So we're gonna come back here, and now this one's gonna be more for that biceps femoris. You will also get that lateral calf, just because we're using the whole leg, for example. So that's why we're gonna do this exercise right here. So again, if you want to get the lateral aspect of your hamstrings, and you just bring this leg across, you're gonna pull down, and you should get a good stretch here on that lateral aspect of those hamstrings. And as I mentioned, you can also get the lateral calf, which is the lateral gastroc, right? And you get a good stretch here. Perfect. You hold it for about 15 to 20 seconds or so. Make sure you're breathing, and you get to pull more and more every time. Now, if you don't have rope, then you can get creative, right? So it's the same thing. We're trying to work in that diagonal, get that biceps. So you can put your leg up on a platform like this massage table. And again, all we're gonna do is try to get that diagonal so we can get that biceps femoris. So here, and we just sit back. Oh, and I feel it in my hamstrings. Good. So that's a good stretch that you can do for that biceps femoris. And you can also get that lateral gastroc. But if you don't feel it that as much, right, you can do your calf stretches, right? Stagger your legs. So we're using this back to stretch this back leg, and this leg in the front we're going to use to create distance and create that stretch, right? So you should keep that heel on the ground, that back foot back here, and just stretch. You can change the orientation of your foot that's planted. You can turn it inward. You can get that medial side, or you can turn your foot out and get a little bit of that outside part. Good. Next thing we are going to do is activate. So again, right now we're stretching the overactive muscles. Now to activate, you want to activate under active musculature. So now we're gonna do the medial gastroc. So in that case, I'm gonna use toe raises, but with a little modification, right? It's not gonna be toe raises up and down where your feet are pointed straight ahead. That's not what we wanna do. In this case, we wanna point our feet. We wanna point our feet outward, right? So we can get that medial aspect of that calf. So we're gonna point our feet out in a V like this. And you will feel that medial calf, that gastroc, really activate. And that's just one way we can isolate it. Next thing we're gonna activate is the glute max and medius. Now, you can activate both individually, which is what I'm gonna show you. So for the glute max, right, you wanna focus on keeping your core tight, your low back as flat as possible. Heels or legs angled about 90 degrees. Heels on that table, toes up. That way we can get a good contraction of those glutes. And we're gonna come up, hold it for about 2-3 seconds. Keep that back as flat as possible. And come down, right? And make sure you draw in your core here and back up. So you always want to set your core first, all right? And then that's for your glute max. Now for your glute medius, we're gonna lay on our side. We're gonna make sure we're as straight as a pole, right? We got a line from our knee to our ear, that's a line. Now the top leg here, we're gonna slide back about half of the foot. So you're gonna be staggered pretty much, right on top of each other, like this. Not so much right over each other, but right behind each other like this. And now, keeping our body straight, we're gonna lift up, making sure that our body doesn't sway back or our hips move forward or back, right? Stay neutral here, come back down, up, down. You should feel that in your glute medius. All right, last thing, to tie it all together, now that we loosened up some muscles and strengthened or activated some muscles, now we got to put it all together, right? So the goal here, again, is to prevent toes coming out. So now we just got to integrate all these exercises in hopes that we can stabilize that ankle and allow for better movement in the overhead squat, for example. So to integrate it, we're gonna do the star balance. So I like to use this to emphasize ankle range of motion and movement of that ankle, which is very good for, I like to use it for ankle sprains, for example. That way we can get movement of that ankle. So again, to do the star balance is like the star excursion balance test. We're using all 8 directions with a little modification that the heel is always staying on the ground, right? And again, in the star balance, we're reaching as far as we can, which is the case here, but we're not so much worried about the patient toeing towards a direction. We want the patient with that front leg to put their whole foot down, but keeping that back leg and the heel down, right? So we're getting as much movement in that ankle, trying to keep that foot as straight as possible. So here I'm gonna demonstrate it from the side so you can see what's going on at the ankle. All right, so again, we're utilizing all 8 directions. Balance is key, and we want to hold in each direction for about 2 to 3 seconds. All right, so here we go. First direction, good. Star lunge balance right here. Good, we're gonna reach as far as we can, hold, come back. You can use a little balance component here if you want to. And come back this way, right? Keeping that heel down. Good, come back. You can use a little balance component. Come this way. Good, balance component. Come back, hold. And again, it is very challenging. I am not the greatest athlete, but that's the point, right? You gotta keep that foot and heel in line straight. Balance component, this direction, balance component, this direction, keeping that heel and foot in line. Balance component, out to the side, balance component, out to the side, keeping that heel down and straight, back up, and then we start all over. All right, so that's my little quick plan that we can design to help a patient that has their feet toeing out. All right, guys, thank you.